Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm excited to introduce you to Alex Elvidge, the lead writer on our team. Alex had some questions about Islam, so we invited her onto the set to ask them of Dr. Shabir. Here's the first. Why would a benevolent God who loves us and cares for us allow horrible suffering and tragedies to happen? Here's Alex with Dr. Shabir.
Dr. Shabir, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you for hosting.
So I'm going to ask you a question that I believe many believers and non-believers alike have for any religion or faith. Why would a benevolent God who loves us and cares for us allow for tragedies and evils to occur?
Yeah, this general question is very difficult for people of faith to answer, and sometimes it has actually driven people outside of their faith as they thought about the problem, and they could not come up with a reasonable answer. This question falls under the general topic of theodicy, the problem of evil, and how do we put a theological explanation for the problem of evil? How do we come up with such an explanation? Well, we can say that from the Islamic perspective, God would create a world if that world has an overwhelming amount of good things, even though it might have some evil compared with it, included in it, sometimes as side effects of creating the good things. So let me put this in perspective. Let's say on the one extreme, we have a possible world which is totally good. So that's purely good. Definitely God will create something like this because he is benevolent and he wants to realize good things, so he will create the good world. Let's say something is totally evil. Well, God is not going to create that because by definition, God is benevolent. He's compassionate and merciful in the Islamic tradition. He's not going to create something that is pure evil. But let's say there's something in between. There's a mixture of good and evil, and there could be a wide spectrum. So at some point, God is going to draw the line and say, you know, this is more evil than good. I'm not going to create that. But then it becomes a little bit fuzzy, and then there's some things are like some possible worlds are clearly would have a great amount of good, but also some possible evil along with it. Would God create such a world? It seems to me that our world is such a one in which there is a great amount of good, but there are some evils. Some of these evils are clearly side effects of the good things that God has created and the good things that we enjoy. And the evils come as a necessary component of that. Now, we might then go back and think, well, wait a minute, since God is all-powerful, couldn't he just remove the evil? And the answer is yes, but then you're talking about a world that is purely good and has no evils. And probably God created that as well, and that is out there somewhere. And we can think of the world of angels. In Muslim theology, angels are purely good. So that is a world that God has created. It's not our earthly world, but it's a world. So this world is one of those that has a mixture of good and evil, and God will create such a world if the good in it is overwhelmingly so.
So is the purpose of creating this spectrum of good and evil in the world so that we as humans can learn from the sufferings that we endure?
That's one of the benefits of the evils. It's not necessarily the purpose. I can't conceive of God thinking, okay, let me whip them so that they will learn from the whipping. It must be that in thinking about the worlds that he could create, God realizes that here is a possible world. It will have some evils, but then even the evils that will be present in that world will have some silver linings behind them. In other words, that there will be some beneficial aspects even to those evils. It's not that the evils are desirable for their own for their own worth or for the good that could come out of them, but the evils are tolerated because either they're necessary or because in any case they will lead to some good. So let's think about, you know, the fact that one of our community members was murdered at a mosque as he was guarding the doors, trying to restrict entry in compliance with rules to limit the spread of COVID-19. Well, you know, I can't conceive of God thinking, okay, let's let this guy die so that, you know, I'm going to kill this guy, cause the death of this guy in this gruesome way, so that the community could learn from it. No, it's probably the other way around, that God gives freedom to human beings to use their freedom either for good or evil. One person chose to use that freedom to murder another person, an innocent victim. But God is tolerating this because to not allow for this would mean to deprive human beings of their freedoms. And at the same time, God sees that even though this thing is very bad, it's terrible, it's horrible, but out of this, people will learn. People will learn how to upgrade their security measures. People will become more compassionate as a result of this. The compassion might be there in us and it's latent, but when something like this happens, it so horrifies us, it shocks us, that not only are we responding with compassion in this circumstance, but we come to even appreciate the value of human life in a way that we never thought of before. So some good things result from the bad happenstance. And God, in weighing all of the possibilities of what he can create and how to create, he is allowing for some evils, knowing that either these evils are necessary or that there are some redeeming factors that will come out of these evils.
So, Dr. Shabir, what you're saying all sounds great in theory, but right now, the entire world is suffering through COVID-19. This is a very real example of the kind of evils and the sufferings that you're talking about. How can the theories that you're talking about apply to what we're going through right now?
I have to confess that COVID-19 proves to be a very difficult problem to explain under the caption of theodicy. So those general theories sound nice, but when we come to COVID-19, we see that COVID-19, as if, at least in the inception, this was very clear that it started to attack persons with low immunity. It started to attack the elderly people. And that leads naturally to the question, well, like, why would God send a disease that would attack the vulnerable people? It doesn't seem to make sense. But if we apply the general theories again, we can see that we should not be saying that God is sending a disease that is attacking people. We should more rather say that God is allowing for the development of things like bacteria and viruses, and this particular virus, deadly as it is, could have been wiped out altogether by God, but we don't know all of the implications of that. Like, if scientists can now create a baby to be born with, without certain genetic deformities or something like this. Now, they still have to weigh carefully, if they remove one gene from a developing embryo, how would that affect the development of the embryo on the whole? Like, they know what they're trying to accomplish, but they don't know all of the side effects of what they're trying to accomplish, even though they're trying to do a good by removing something which they seem to be, which they see to be bad, but they may not know the whole picture. From our perspective, God knows the whole picture. So we might say, okay, why doesn't God just simply remove COVID-19 just like that? We don't need any vaccinations or anything. God just intervenes and he does the trick in a flash. Well, then there could be so many things that are connected in the world, and such that if God wants to remove this, then he has to remove so many connected things along with it. And that may lead to worse evils than the COVID-19 itself. So God may be permitting it because it has to be an evil that is tolerated by God, and at the same time, it will bring about some good. So now, here is the necessary part. It's necessary, so God is allowing it. And second, though it is bad, it may lead to some good, and not may lead to some good. In the calculations of God, it can be foreseen that a lot of good will come out of this. So one good that will come out of this is the scientists, in their race to develop an effective vaccine, will develop more science in general, because you don't just simply focus on one thing and then do that one thing only. The science develops as a body of knowledge, and to come up with the right solution for this, an effective vaccine, the whole body of scientific knowledge will advance. And that will lead to many more good things that science has been showing us that it's capable of, and many beneficial things for human beings. it leads to a greater compassion among human beings. As we see people suffering, the inner compassion rises to the fore. It's no longer in the back burner. It becomes in the forethought of human beings. We become more caring for other people. We start to practice better hygiene. And while we are trying to avoid the COVID-19 and the virus that causes it, we are at the same time, by practicing good hygiene, we are preparing ourselves for the future to prevent the spread of other diseases. By, for example, frequent hand washing, maintaining social distancing. We are just rethinking the way in which we have governed ourselves over the last couple of decades, and the way in which such governance could actually lead to our detriment in the future. So COVID-19, bad as it is, we can say in a nutshell, is permitted by God probably because it is a necessary part of the development of life the way God has created it. And though it is bad, God is allowing it because it will have some beneficial side effects.
Yes, and in addition to the scientific advancements that are resulting from this pandemic, we also have the potential environmental improvements that are happening as a result of everyone being forced to stay home. And you mentioned the fact that this disease is specifically targeting the elderly and the infirm, people who have people who are immunocompromised. Often, when you hear people who are not in favor of the lockdown, they say, well, this disease is targeting people who maybe would naturally die more quickly anyway. Would you say that what this experience is teaching us is to value all members of society?
Yes, and in fact, if we didn't think about that at a philosophical level, then, the young people who have said to themselves, you know what, this is only affecting the old people, we can go out and party now. And now we are seeing the results of that in that the numbers are climbing up again, and at least in Ontario. And we are seeing that young people are starting to represent the majority of cases of new infections, partly due to the partying, and may God save us all. And the one last thing, Alex, if you will allow me, is that from a religious and particularly an Islamic point of view, there is in the Quran the sense that if God were to leave people, I just want to mention one last point here, that if God were to leave people to just be free and do whatever they want, then people will forget God. And every once in a while, a calamity strikes, and then people turns back to God. So from the Quranic perspective, this is one of the benefits that come out of calamities. Again, we shouldn't think of God, just viciously in an vengeful manner, just deciding to send a pestilence on the people. But one of the good things from the Quranic perspective that come out of calamities is that people come to realize that we are not alone in the universe. And we're not the final arbiters and controllers of our futures. There are so many unexpected and unknowns in our world, and the best way of coping with all of these unknowns is, first of all, to develop science the best we can, to develop our own procedures and ensure our own safety the best we can. So we apply all of the means that are available to us. But at the end, the second and the other half of that coin, not necessarily second in importance, is that in addition to everything that we're trying at the human level, we should also retain our connection with God, our dependence on God, and our prayers to our Creator and Fashioner, the Creator and Controller of the entire universe.
Very interesting and very pertinent to our present situation. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.